Hello everyone, Sunburned Albino does yet another tier list, only a few more to go, but we're doing fairy types right now. And this is gonna be a short one, you know? There's not a lot of fairy types. Fairy type they added in Generation 6, they added a few new ones in Generation 6, and then they added a few new ones in Generation 7, but then they also went back and changed some of the older Pokemon into fairy type. With the ones that wouldn't have made sense to do so, which is good. You know, I was mostly on board with who got fairy type and who didn't. Like, they all made sense. Snubbull was kind of weird, but, you know, this just because fairies don't have to be cute. They can be ugly, gross puppies as well if they want to. I don't know. Maybe there's some Pitbull fans in here that are angry with that, but it's whatever. Pitbulls will kill you. Also, they're cute, but so sometimes they won't kill you. But, you know, occasionally they'll kill you. Like, you can't even say that occasionally they won't kill you. Occasionally they will kill you. I mean, occasionally your Pomeranian will kill you if you're, like, careless enough and you make it very mad and then you don't fight back for, like, 30 minutes, I guess. But, yeah. See, if anything, a Pomeranian should be a fairy type. I have a Pomeranian, and she would be a fairy type Pokemon, that's for damn sure. So we've got... I'm already noticing that Mega Absol is not on this list. Dude, they didn't even do this properly. Where is Mega Absol? Nowhere. That's where. Like, this was the only tier list I could find, and... well, there was another one, but it wouldn't load, so I assume that one's, like, the good one, but so I'm stuck with this one. And so you can just pretend that Mega Absol is here, and then Mega Absol would be in, like, A tier. So we can start with that. Mega Absol would be A tier. Pretend Mega Absol's there. You know, I put him on my Dark type tier list, so I guess that's gonna be your indicator for that one. But, yeah, we're gonna start out with Mega Altaria. Dragon Fairy type, loses the flying, gains the fairy. I've used Mega Altaria before, and it's actually pretty darn good. I really do like it. I will put it in A tier. Mega Altaria is swell. I like it better than regular Altaria, for sure. Then we have Aromatisse. Aromatisse and Slurpuff, the other one, they're both not the best, like, examples of fairy-type Pokemon's potential, if you ask me. They're both really ugly, actually. And it's also, I don't like when they do sprites like this. Like, I want to see the actual image designs, but it's whatever. Yeah, Aromatisse and Slurpuff are they're both D tier for me. Like, we can just go right into that. I don't like either of them. There's a new fairy-type Pokemon, Alcremie, that is coming out in the Galar region that I'm very much a fan of. That looks really cute, and it looks cool. And they specifically said, they were like, dude, there's like a whole bunch of different versions of Alcremie with, like, different creams or whatever's going on. So I'm excited for that. I like when they do Pokemon that have, like, different forms, or, like, they can look different. Like Vivian, all its wing patterns, for example. Like, that's just cool. That's going above and beyond, man. That is well to do. Then we've got Mega Audino, which I don't know anything about. I assume regular Audino is still normal type, because I don't see it on this list, although maybe that's just another mistake. Who can say? I don't trust the validity of this tier list anymore. This is rooted in wrong information. I don't like it. Alright, well, I will put Mega Audino in B tier because I do kind of like the way it looks. And, like, I can remember it in full visual fidelity a little bit because I've seen it before. And I do like its design. Then we have Azumarill, who is, as far as fairy types go, like, now that it's fairy type, dude, I still don't really like it that much, but we'll put it in C tier for fairies. It was D tier for water types, I'm pretty sure. Deservedly. But, like, fairies, there's not much more selection, so, like, you can put it in C tier. You still need, like, huge power and, you know, whatever you're doing, and then it's still not even that strong, but it's whatever. And then we have Carbink, who is horrible. Carbink was basically, it seems like, created just to serve Diancie, who is somewhere. There she is. So, like, they made them, and, like, they're, you know, they're really bulky, but they don't do anything. They're, like, I don't even know what to compare them to. They're just not good. Like, they're very bad. So then you have Clefable, with its newfound fairy type, which makes lots of sense to me. Dude, why are you clicking that? No, go here. You can be in B tier, Clefable, because you are better than Azumarill. Assuredly better than Azumarill. I don't have much to say about you. Clefable's like really gross looking. There were some like Pokemon YouTuber I watched. I don't know who he is, but like I watched like his 10 favorite Pokemon. This was like 5 years ago, and like all his favorite Pokemon were like Clefairy and Jigglypuff. And I was like, dude, what's wrong? And this was like a man. This was like a grown-ass man. Like, dude, I love Jigglypuff and Clefairy. They're my favorites. It's like, really? Okay. I don't know what to tell you about that, actually. You know, draw whatever conclusions you want to draw, I suppose. And then we have Comfey, who I have very little experience with. I don't believe I've used Comfey in any of my Sun and Moon playthroughs, but I think Comfey was one of the few Pokemon that actually had a good speed stat. You know, I'll never shut up about that. So I will put you in like B tier. I think I remember your stats being sort of okay. So I'll put you in B tier. Just for posterity. Whimsicott, since Cottony's right here. We don't need to talk about Whimsicott again. I feel like we can just move him to F tier and then zip the lip just real quick without going on any unnecessary tangents. I think that would be pretty solid. We could just not talk about Whimsicott and the fact that it's... Nope! Be quiet! Okay, so... Let's do... Ooh, Rabombi? Dude, I really like Rabombi. Rabombi is A tier. I really enjoy Rabombi. It's not that strong, but it's fast, and I like it. It's a good bug type. I'm sold on its bug typeness. Like, this is a good, solid bug type with the fairy, in addition to it. I like it. Rabombi is a solid member of any team. I'm a fan. Then we have Dedenne, who is... I'm still putting you in D tier. Anime makes you cute and all, but, like, you're still D tier. He's still just right up there in D tier. Then we have Mega Diancie, and then we have regular Diancie. Is it Diancie or Diancie? Or is it Diancie? Or is it Diancie? Or is it Diancie? I don't know. So Diancie goes into A tier. Diancie's actually really good. I watched that movie, and I ended up liking Diancie. Diancie's got like a little mermaid thing going on. It's basically what the story is. It's like, I want to go out and see the world, and everyone's like, no, you must stay forever, or whatever. And it's like, ooh, this is all new to me. A fork? What does that do? You know, shit like that. So, but like told in the vein of Pokemon, like any story that's like retold with Pokemon in it is like, yeah, I'll watch that again. I don't care if it's literally the plot of this other movie. Like, it's new enough to me because it involves Pokemon. And, you know, you don't expect Pokemon to be like super like, ooh, what a twist, you know? Then we have Florges. Florges. I used to think it was called Florges, and then I heard Florges go, Florges. So I was like, oh, it's Florges then. I prefer Florges still, but, you know, so I'm still gonna say Florges. Florges is S tier. Florges is so strong. Really good special attack, really good special defense. Florges is what you wanted Primarina to be, but Primarina is a little worse than Florges, but not that worse. Like, you know, more than I expected. A little better than I would have thought. But we're not there yet, so we don't need to talk about that just yet. Then we'll go into Gardevoir, because Gardevoir is one of those Pokemon I totally forgot got Fairy type. And, like, I didn't know it went all the way back down to Ralts, too. I thought maybe, like, you know, Gardevoir is Psychic Fairy, but Ralts and Curly are still base Psychic. No, they're all Psychic Fairy. And then Gallade is Psychic Fighting. At this point, it could be Psychic Fairy, but, like, at this point, I'm waiting for Pokemon to start introducing Trip types. Like triple type combinations. I think that's the next step. Rather than introduce any more types, I think we might start seeing Pokemon that just have 3 types. And I think that's the next step. And I don't think that would overcomplicate it too much. It's just a little bit extra math. Like, say you have Gallade, and he is Psychic and Fairy and Fighting. So then you've got... So you have to split it into thirds now. And it's like... Or no, you don't... Well, you don't split it into thirds. You just do, like, different... Okay, so... Okay. Let's do some... an easier type combination than that, actually. Let's say you've got fire, rock, and ground. That would be a horrible type combination, but say that you have that. It would be it would be sextuple weak, because you say quad weakness when both types are weak. So with 3, you would go, it's sextuple weak against water. So it does ×6, water moves do ×6 damage to that Pokemon. That Pokemon dead if it gets hit by a water move. And then it still does quad weakness to ground, because the ground would be good against the rock and the fire, but not the ground. So that's still ×4. Now, if you had something that was like, say... an ice type is a good example. Against a fire, rock, ground type, if you use an ice type move, the ice is good against the ground, but the weakness is negated by the fire, and it does normal damage to the rock. So that's still just a normal damage move. Ice does regular damage to a fire, rock, ground type. What's a move that's, like, affected by all 3, either negatively or positively? Grass. Okay, grass is a good example. Grass would give you the quad weakness to the rock and ground, but it would be weak against the fire, which means grass would do ×2 damage, regular super effective damage, to a fire, rock, ground type. So that's the math. Like, it takes a little bit to sort of wrap your head around it, but then once it becomes, like, mainstay, I think people would grasp it pretty easily. Because it's like, you know, you have a formula that's like, oh, if it's super effective against 2 of them, but bad against 1 of them, then you got ×2. If it's super effective against 2 of them, but does regular damage against 1 of them, then you got ×4. If it's super effective against all 3 of them, then you got ×6. And then you just reverse that the other way. If it's not very effective against 2 of them, but normal against 1 of them, then you've got, like, the 0.25 or whatever the percentage is damage. So, like, I'm making it sound complicated, but it's really not that complicated. I think triple types are the future. Maybe not now, maybe not even for, like, the next 10 years, but I'll be waiting for them. I think that there's Pokemon that exist today that could be triple types, and Gallade is one. Gallade could be Fairy, Fighting, and Psychic, and then, you know, you've got other Pokemon that can fit the bill, if you ask me. So... like Decidueye, for example. Decidueye would be Grass, Flying, and Ghost, as it should be. Like, that makes perfect sense. They dropped the Flying and added Ghost when it still has wings and is a bird. Like, that's a Grass, Flying, Ghost type. It really is. And then, like, all the Pokemon all the normal types that they returned into fairies, like, they could maintain their normal type along with the fairy still. I don't know. Yeah, it depends on the situation. Where were we at? Okay, we're on... oh yeah, we didn't rate Gardevoir. Gardevoir is S tier. 100% S tier. Granbull is not that bad, but it's not that good, but it's not that bad either. Granbull I'm going to put in a B tier alongside, like, Clefable and stuff. Granbull gets, like, Strong Jaw, I believe. But there's no Fairy-type biting move, so... Does it get Sheer Force? Seems like a Pokemon that could get Sheer Force, but if it doesn't, then it doesn't, so... Wigglytuff is D tier. Nasty-ass Pokemon. Just, you know, Jigglypuff is cute, and then, like, you just evolve that into, like, a more oblong shape with, like, longer ears. It's like, oh, that's it? Gross. Like, that's nothing. It's completely lost its Jigglypuff charm, now it's just a fat, waddly rabbit. That's got no purpose at all. Like, does Wigglytuff even have, like, the same properties as Jigglypuff? Like, when it sings, is it known for singing and then still putting people to sleep? I mean, just the move Sing in general is what puts people to sleep. It's not like Jigglypuff has that special power. It's just that Jigglypuff, in particular, likes to sing at all times. Is the only, like, difference, really. How about... oh, Klefki? Oh yeah, Klefki is still an F tier. Not visually! I like object-based Pokemon. They've made up the bulk of every single generation. Not the bulk, but like there's been a solid amount of them in every single generation. But Prankster, like all that stuff, like all the same reasons that I would hate like Jumpluff, or Whimsicott for that matter, is why you go into F tier. Then we've got Mawile. Ooh, dude, Mega Mawile specifically is S tier. Regular Mawile is A tier, but Mega Mawile gets huge power when it Mega Evolves, and then it becomes an absolute force to be reckoned with. Whereas regular Mawile needs some help. But I do love its design tremendously. And it gained that fairy type, it's Steel Fairy. So that's cool. Like, Mawile seems like it could be Dark type too, like it could be Steel Fairy Dark. And that would be a very interesting, like, triple type combination with how that would affect all the stuff that's usually, you know, associated with it. Because, like, a fairy type move would be not very effective against fairy and not very effective against steel, but super effective against dark, which would put it down to not very effective, totally. So it would be 0.5 damage. Times 0.5 damage, excuse me. Yeah. I understand it. That's all that matters. And I'm not belittling you either. I'm sure you get it. I don't need to explain it anymore. Magearna, or Magearna, another Steel Fairy. It's still like, you can go into C tier. Dude, it looks like a Azumarill. Like, it's a gear rabbit. Those ears? I don't know, I feel like these two could be friends, right? Where's that story? Oh, Mimikyu is super solid S tier. Easy S tier. Dude, Mimikyu is a sleeper hit of Gen 7. Everybody was fawning over Rockruff, and for good reason, because Rockruff is one of, like, the best designed Pokemon in the last, like, 5 generations. Just, like, finally able to recapture that, Growlithe factor, where everybody was obsessed with Growlithe. Because it's just, like, one of those cute dogs, you know? And, like, they did it so right. And then it evolves into Lycanroc, and Lycanroc is so good and cool. And it's, that is a flawlessly designed Pokemon and line, is the Rockruff Lycanroc line. And, Shinx would be another example of that. So, yeah, so Rockruff stole the show, but then a little bit behind it is Mimikyu, this weird little, like, Pikachu impersonator, and everybody is fascinated by it. Mimikyu is so cute and adorable, and it has that ability that negates all damage the first time you are switched into battle. Or, like you can take a free hit and take no damage, like, every time you switch in or switch out. So it's like, or per battle, maybe. It might be. But, so Mimikyu is, very, very good. And, like, especially in PvE, that's so useful, because then you don't have to worry about getting hit. And so you don't have to use potions after the battle or anything. Mimikyu is very reliably untouchable, and so it's very good. Then we've got Mr. Mime, who is Pedophile D tier. Although as far as fairy types go, like, you should put him in C tier at least. You should put him in B tier. Put him alongside Clefable. There's way better psychic types, so, like, I think it was good to put him down there, but as far as fairy types go, Mr. Mime is very solid. Then we have, if my prompts would go away. Ooh, Alolan Ninetails, right. Ooh, yeah, Alolan Ninetails is S tier. Adding that fairy type, Ice Fairy, wow, so good. And, like, they didn't add fairy to the regular Ninetails when they had the chance. But, which I don't, is fine. Like, it doesn't really strike me as a fairy type, but, you know, the ice type one is like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm cool with it. I like that dual type. Ice Fairy is a cool dual type. Because, like, Fairy already, you wouldn't put it against fire types, because Fairy's bad against fire for whatever reason. But Fire's not super effective against Fairy, though. So it's kind of, it's one of those interesting interactions that maybe warrants some explanation. But, you know, Ice Fairy type's still, like, a cool dual type where, like, it gets quad weakness to Steel. That's true. But otherwise, the types are pretty unaffected by each other. Actually, no, because, like, the Fairy type is super effective against fighting, which helps the ice weakness. That's nice. Alright, then we have Primarina. who Primarina gets a bad rap. I will put it A tier because I'm gonna put it in B tier because it is just like a little less better version, a less good version of Florges, and so like, you know, I gave it a bad rap in my starter evolution or starter ranking video, which is up to 44,000 views now. Thanks, guys. Lots of you are hate watching it. Dude, you should see some of the comments I got on there. It's like, do you even know anything about Pokemon, bro? It's like, no, dude, I haven't played it for the last 22 years. Then we have Shiinotic, who is C tier. Dude, I don't know a damn thing about Shiinotic. I will actually say that correctly or perfectly because I got the version of Sun and Moon that had Fomantis in it and Lurantis, which Shiinotic is the other one. So like you can't get them both unless you like Wonder Trade for them, but I didn't really have any interest in that either. Anyway, I would look because I looked at Shiinotic and I was like, ew, why? Why would I want that? It's sort of the same thing I've got for like Eldegoss now that I've seen that new grass type Pokemon that's coming out. It's like Gossifleur evolves into Eldegoss, and it's like I don't like that. Gossifleur looked cool, but then Eldegoss was like, ew, I don't like that. And it doesn't look like it's gonna be that strong either. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll be the next Florges. Who can say? Now we're in Sylveon territory. Sylveon is A tier. I don't want to put it in S tier because I'm not that big a fan of it, but it's very good in battle, and I will give it A tier. I remember when it first was revealed, or like people were rumoring it, and it was known as Ninfia at that point, because that was the Japanese name, I think. Or Ninfia, you know, whatever it was. And then I straight up thought that was fake. I straight up thought that Sylveon looked fake, because I was like, that's not a Pokemon, its eyes are weird, it's got like these, they're not Pokemon eyes, they look weird. And I was like, I don't buy this. And then it turned out to be real, and I was like, oh, I love Sylveon, it's always looked nice. I mean, that's sort of like, you know, we have that bias against Pokemon that have not been, like, canonized legitimately. So, like, if we can't prove that this is a real Pokemon, like a real legitimate Pokemon, like, we're just gonna hate it from the get-go. And then it comes out, they're like, oh no, this is real, this will be in there. And it's like, oh, well, I guess we'll see then. It looks alright, eh? So, like, I don't know. If you Google image search some of the, like, fan-made Pokemon, like, some of them are really cool. But, and it's like, dude, the game, like, this is why Game Freak can never run out of ideas, because we're giving them ideas. They're not using any of them, but if they ever felt the need to get ideas from us, we would never stop. They could just crowdsource the next Pokemon for the next, like, 80 generations. And we would just be like, yes, take them, take all our ideas. I don't even need compensation. It's just enough to know that my design got into a Pokemon game. And I'd be like, hey, I designed that Pokemon. And then you tell all your friends. And I mean, you know, I'm the same way. That's why I made my entire generation of Pokemon that I did. Except I can't find that fucking paper anywhere. I had it written down, like 150 new Pokemon that I'd made. Of all different, like, of a new generation that I was gonna make. Well, I was never gonna actually make it, but, like, I was conceptualizing it because I was bored. I had lots of stuff, I had lots of time on my hands. So I was like, a new version of Pokemon. It's called Pokemon Dusk and Dawn version. And, like, yes, that's an amazing name, and they could totally do that. And I came up with that. That was, like, 6 years ago I did that. So, you know, Dusk and Dawn is like an extenuation of Sun and Moon. Like, and I think Dusk and Dawn would have been better, if you ask me. But, yeah, and like, there were great Pokemon on there, but I can't find the paper. I think it might have gotten thrown out, which I forgot half the Pokemon that were on there, which is why it's like, dude, you can't throw that out. That could be my gold mine. I could make videos about that at least. You know, issue a challenge to artists, like, hey, draw this Pokemon and see what you come up with. If you guys are bored and you need, like, artistic suggestions, you know, hit me up. If that would be a neat video series or something. But, let's do... And when I say hit me up, I mean, like, leave a comment. Don't, like, DM me, because I won't respond to it. I'm shy! Okay, then we have all the Tapus. I didn't know they were all fairy type. Tapu Koko struck me as a fighting type. I thought this was electric fighting the whole time, but no, they're all fairies. They can all pretty much go in the same tier. They can all go C tier. C tier is the who gives a crap tier. Like, it's not F tier, where like F tier is like, I care that this Pokemon is this bad. C tier is like, I've got nowhere else to put you, so just go in there. You know, it's the average tier. Oh, Togekiss? Ooh, as far as fairy types go, Togekiss is S tier. It was A tier in flying, but S tier in fairies for sure. Ooh, and then Xerneas is also S tier. Xerneas is one of the coolest legendaries they've ever made. I really love Xerneas. Such a cool looking Pokemon. You can't tell because this is just a washed out, colored, nasty sprite, like all of these are, because I hate this. But Xerneas is beautiful and elegant and graceful, and I'm a big fan. And I watched that movie as well. Dude, I've seen way more Pokemon movies than I think I have. I've seen like 7 of them. If I'm actually like taking inventory in my brain, and like that's crazy. Because they put a bunch of them on Netflix, so I was just like, oh, you know, I'll spend like 12 hours watching a bunch of Pokemon movies right now. Of course I will. What else would I do? So, what else would I do? Look for a job? So then we have, and that's it. That's all the fairy types. S tier, we got Florges. I had to cough. That wasn't me laughing at my own joke, although I do still think that's funny. Oh, this was the Laver City theme from X and Y, by the way. I don't know why I forgot to mention that. You know, it's the gym, or it's the city that the fairy type gym is in, so I was like, that's fitting. And then okay, so S tier, we got Florges, we got Gardevoir, we got Mega Mawile, we have Mimikyu, we have Alolan Ninetails, we have Togekiss, and Xerneas. And then F tier, all we got at F tier is Whimsicott and Klefki. That's pretty good for fairy types. Of course, there aren't that many fairy types, so... But the fact that so many of them are not in F tier is a pretty good showing for fairy types, because when fairy types came out, there was noticeable pushback. Everyone was like, fairy types, that's gay! And like, kinda? But that doesn't mean it's not good. And like, they were mostly made to combat dragons, right? Because dragons were dominating everything, because they were only weak against ice and dragons. So like, you would put a dragon type to combat dragon types, and then there are already so many dragon types. So then Fairy was like, dude, we're gonna make fairies immune to dragons, which makes no sense, but that's okay. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. It actually doesn't make no sense. If you if you think about the Spyro games, they were way ahead of that shit. Fairies have canonically always helped dragons out and been like a friend to dragons, although I think there's alternate lore where it's like fairies are prisoners of dragons and like sex slaves to dragons or something. But regardless, it's like the fairies are rising up and like either they have built up an immunity to dragons by being tortured by them for so many centuries, or they are such friends of dragons that dragons can't bring themselves to harm a fairy. But then, if they're such friends to dragons, then why can fairies just, like, kill dragons with no remorse? Just instant, super effective, like, one-shot Hydreigon with a Moonblast. Like, who cares? So, I don't know. Weird lore surrounding that. I'm not 100% sure on it. But that's gonna do it for this tier list. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. We only got Rock and Ghost and Dragon. Rock, Ghost, and Dragon are the 3 types left. So get ready for that, and then we'll have more tier lists to do after that. I have some of them thought up, but not in my head at this moment, so I couldn't tell you what they are. But I know that there are more plans. So follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and I'll see you guys next time.